probably the most daunting task in the entire writing process, especially for beginning writers, is the moment you receive your essay back from your teacher or professor. Now, if you've ever written an essay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You get the paper back, and then after looking at the grade, you begin to look to see how many of those red marks your teacher has put on your paper. Then you have to attempt to what? Decode those marks and basically rewrite the entire essay. Well, in this I Love Writing episode, I'm going to walk you through the 5 most common grammar and content essays that appear. And I'm going to teach you how to fix them and avoid them forever. What's good, everybody, and welcome to Naturally Geeking Out. I'm Nicole Winsley, aka Natty Geek 78. I am first and foremost an educator for over 15 years. I'm a coach and mentor to young and beginning teachers, as well as an instructional content creator and designer. I'd like to welcome you to my page where we embrace your inner geek. Now, if this is your first time to my channel, I just want to say hola and welcome. And if you're a vet, thank you for sticking with me. And go ahead and show me some love by smashing that like button and giving my subscribe button some dap and ringing that bell to be instantly notified whenever I post another video. So without further ado, let's get started. And welcome back to another episode of I Love Writing, where I'm taking you from heartbreak to love and A+ essays. In this week's episode, I am teaching you about the 5 common essay errors and how to fix them and avoid them forever. Isn't that amazing? Now, in this episode, I'm going to talk about what exactly essay corrections are. I'm also going to go into the pros and cons of just correcting the errors in your essay versus completely rewriting the entire essay. Then I'm going to show you how to fix those 5 common errors that I promised. And then I'm going to recap the episode and we're going to get out of here. So let's get started with what exactly are essay corrections. Now, I think essay corrections are 4 key areas. First, essay corrections refine and improve your writing. They also foster growth mindset. They provide feedback and guidance, and they actively engage. Now, in regards to refining and improving, when you complete essay corrections, it involves reviewing and revising specific areas in any piece of written work. Feedback and guidance just means you are getting specific feedback on an area that needs improvement, not just the entire essay. Essay corrections foster growth mindset because the corrections teach you, the student, how improvement is attainable through effort and revision. Also cultivates a growth mindset, showing that you can do this writing process. And lastly, essay corrections do active engagement, where it requires you, the writer, to actively analyze and reflect on specific writing choices you made in the first draft of your essay. This is going to lead to a deeper understanding of effective writing principles. Now, why do essay corrections work as opposed to just rewriting the essay? Like I said, it's targeted improvement. Remember, those corrections, guys, are gonna be based off the specific feedback you got on areas that you need to improve. So it's like you are taking all of the grows that your teacher gave you and you're fixing those as opposed to trying to fix and improve on the glows and the grows at the same time. That makes no sense. Also, essay corrections work because you learn from the mistakes. When you engage in corrections, it helps you identify and understand the mistakes you made, thereby facilitating a deeper comprehension of key writing principles. 2 more reasons why essay corrections work is because it fosters critical thinking. These corrections are going to prompt you to think critically about the writing choices you make, thereby fostering a greater awareness of your strengths, aka your glows, and your areas for growth. Lastly, essay corrections work because it's a level of accountability. When you correct the errors in your essay as opposed to just rewriting, you are holding yourself accountable and basically calling yourself on the carpet about the writing choices that you made. This is going to instill a sense of ownership and a commitment to improve as a writer, thereby growing. Now, that was a lot. And of course, I'm not going to sit here and say there aren't some cons to essay corrections. So, we've already kind of talked about the pros. We said that essay corrections give you customized feedback, they help you learn from your failure, and they stretch and grow you. However, cons, they can be a little frustrating to receive feedback on your work. I don't know about you, but I wasn't always the best at receiving constructive feedback in my writing because back in the day, I thought I was the bomb. However, I learned that constructive feedback is a good thing. But for beginning writers, receiving feedback about your writing that's so specific and targeted can be a little bit frustrating. Also, essay corrections are a little bit time consuming. It does require a more significant time investment as opposed to just rewriting, especially if you're doing multiple drafts like you're writing a research paper. Lastly, another con of doing essay corrections over rewriting the essay is it's overthinking. There's a potential for students to overcorrect, leading to the potential loss of their original voice and ideas, that original voice and ideas that your teacher most likely enjoyed. Now, let's talk about some pros and cons of rewriting your essay because as always, I'm going to give you a choice. Now, the pros of rewriting your essay is you get a clean slate. So you have a chance to approach the topic with a new perspective. It also gives you some flexibility. Rewriting your essay gives you the chance to restructure it and kind of go ahead and write things you didn't think about before, but you thought about after you turned it in. And then, of course, that leads to pro number 3, where you can rephrase and clarify. This is going to provide the opportunity to rephrase and clarify the areas that you did not clearly express the first time you wrote the essay. A con about rewriting essay, it's time consuming too. So, either way, it's going to be time consuming. Also, rewriting the essay as opposed to just correcting certain errors, you're going to lose some content. Some content. Now, remember, there's a risk of losing that valuable insight and original thoughts from that initial draft. And last but not least, a con of rewriting your essay is it's not in sync with the original. So the new version may not necessarily maintain that tone or style that you had in the first essay, probably the tone and style that your teacher liked in the first place. Now, we've gotten the what and we've gotten the why. Now it's time to get to the how. So here are the top 5 grammar and content errors I see spread across my years of teaching writing. So first we're going to start with the run-on sentence. Then we're going to go into misplaced punctuation. We're going to go into a error I like to call choppy writing. And then another error I call avoiding fantasy land. And then last but not least, we're going to close with writing in past tense. A run-on sentence, of course, is when a writer takes 2 complete sentences and joins them together incorrectly. Now, there are 2 types of run-on sentences. First, you have the fused sentence. That means it's fused together, like glued together, meaning it's joined with no punctuation. So, for example, the juxtaposition of light and dark, it conveys a powerful emotion. You see how it's like literally fused together so much that I can't even read it. All right, the next type is a comma splice. That's when 2 sentences are joined with just a comma. So as you can see here, the political discourse in the novel is rich and multifaceted. It reflects the complexities of social dynamics and challenges conventional norms. Do you see how there is really 2 complete sentences, but I decided just to join them with a comma. So we got the common error. Now let's talk about how to fix it. Fix number 1. Just make it 2 complete sentences. So just put a period after the end of the first sentence. So the correct way is the juxtaposition of light and dark, and the painting is transformative, period. It conveys a powerful emotional contrast. That's probably the easiest way you can do that. But you want to add some sentence variety and show that you have the mastery of the English language writing wise. So I would probably focus on fix number 2, where you add a semicolon. So instead of the period after transformative, you're going to add a semicolon. I'm sorry, this instead of Yes, that's right. So instead of the period after transformative, you would add a semicolon and then you wouldn't capitalize the I in it. Or fix number two, the sentence, the political discourse in the novel is rich and multifaceted, semicolon. It reflects the complexities of societal dynamics and challenges conventional norms. I have the same sentence, but now by using that semicolon, I'm showing a little bit of mastery in sentence variety. So fix number three, the same sentence, instead of adding a period or semicolon, we can just make it a compound sentence by adding a comma and a fanboy conjunction. So the juxtaposition of light and dark in the painting, blah, 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 you know the incorrect sentence. But as you can see here, I'm putting a comma after transformative and then adding that coordinating conjunction or fanboy conjunction. So the juxtaposition of light and dark in the painting is transformative, comma, so it conveys a powerful emotional contrast. Fix number four, for a run-on sentence, I can turn one sentence into a dependent clause. So I have this right here. So this is my original sentence. The political discourse in the novel is rich and multifaceted, comma, it reflects the complexity of societal dynamics and challenges conventional norms. Now, I'm just going to add an allibus or subordinating conjunction in front of the first sentence. I'm going to use the allibus conjunction because. So because the political discourse in the novel is rich and multifaceted, comma. So now the comma is completely okay. Or I can add the allibus conjunction right between the two separate sentences. So now the political discourse in the novel is rich and multifaceted since it reflects the complexities, blah, 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 blah. You get it. Bam, bam, bam. All right, so that is common error number one. And remember, you can always pause and rewind to go back, or you can skip ahead. I got the chapters in the description box, so you can always skip ahead and go to the error that you need to go to first. But now moving on to error number two, misplaced punctuation. Now, misplaced punctuation is when a writer places a comma outside or inside a set of quotation marks incorrectly. So look at these two sentences. According to the article written by Sophie Little, Education, the Powerful Weapon, notice the comma is after the quotation mark. Or this sentence right here, the author emphasizes a key point, colon, success is not final, failure is not fatal, colon. It is the courage to continue that counts. Both of these are incorrect. That punctuation should not be there. So let's talk about how to fix it. So when you have periods and commas, first thing you want to do, periods and commas go inside the quotations. Colon and semicolons go outside. So periods and commas in, colons and semicolons out. Hey, periods and commas in, colons and semicolons out. So when you look at the corrected part, you have according to the recent article by Sophie Little, comma, education, the ultimate weapon. Bam. Notice I put that comma inside my quotation marks because that's where it's supposed to go. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. Or if I have a colon or semicolon, I know that it has to go outside right here. All right. And so it should be right here. It is the courage to continue that counts. All right. So that is misplaced punctuation. And to be honest, it's a common one, but it's probably low ranking. But I still wanted to show you how to fix it so that way you can avoid it in the future. Now, moving on to common error number three, choppy writing. Now, choppy writing is when a writer's words lack flow or rhythm. So typically, choppy writing is when you have just short sentences stacked together or repeated phrases. This is why sentence variety is so important. So let's look at an example. So the research is extensive, spanning years of study. The findings are consistent, showing a clear picture. The experts agree, pointing to a significant correlation. The data, analyzed thoroughly, leaves little room for interpretation. So do you see how it's just really choppy? Like it's like do, do, do. Now, if it was a song, it might be hitting on something, but when you're writing, choppy writing is never a good thing. So the fix for this is you want to try adding some sentence variety by using a combination of compound or complex sentences. Also, maybe find a way to have some common synonyms to replace the repeated words or phrases. So, for example, the research is extensive, spanning years of study because the findings are consistently showing a clear picture. So, do you see how I just took some phrases or words, combined them, and then even added some adjectives or adverbs? That took that choppy writing to where it had more flow and more rhythm or more bounce to the ounce. All right, so that's choppy writing. Let's move on to common error number 4, avoiding Fantasyland. Now, Fantasyland is the language an author uses to make them sound unsure, wimpy, or even give off the impression that you are a know it all. And in an essay, the last thing you want to do is sound like a know it all. I know it sounds kind of contradictory, but you don't want to do that. Now, these are the common words or phrases that pop up in Fantasyland writing. So you got would, could, should, may, can, and might. Would, could, should, may, can, might. Now, I have another I Love Writing episode where I literally go through 12 of the words that you should always avoid in your essay, and these 6 are on there. Now, let's talk about what they look like in your writing. Now, would, could, and can. So the narrator would have shown more bravery than he could have. Do you see how you sound unsure about your own analysis of the paper? And in an essay, you never want to sound unsure, lacking self-esteem, or not confident or wimpy. You don't want to do that. Or the use of foreshadowing in the chapters can give readers an idea of what's to come and keep them engaged in the story. Does it? Can it? Is it able to? Or you have should. To fix the situation, lawmakers should. Do you see how you kind of sound like a know-it-all? You don't want to do that. If the valiant knight should wield the fabled sword of valor, kind of given, it's giving definite know-it-all vibes. And then the last 2, may and might. May, the symbolism of the pendant may. Well, if you're writing an essay about symbolism of a pendant, you should know what it does. You should know that it's ain't no may and no might. You should definitely know what it's doing. So the fix for this is don't discuss what happens in an alternative universe. Instead, analyze what actually happened. Don't say what would, could, or should happen or what can happen. Talk about what actually happened. You are essentially, when you're using would, could, and can, you are adding filler that you don't need because you don't really know what to say. Be sure and confident about what you want to say. So the use of foreshadowing in the opening chapters gives readers a hint of what's to come and keeps us engaged in the story. Do you see how I sound more sure of what the foreshadowing does, as opposed to saying what it can do or what it would do or what it could do? Should. Once again, nobody likes a know-it-all, guys. So when you use should, it sounds a little preachy. So you want to avoid needs and replace should. So sometimes you can use must, but you want to be careful. The reader must remember. That is something the reader must do. But overall, just take should completely. And then lastly, may or might. May or might just sounds like you're a wimp and you're scared to make an opinion. Well, the Constitution may bring people together, or it might. Yeah, both those words are just giving unpleasantness and giving a lot of uncertainty. Like you don't know what you're talking about, and I'm going to lose interest fast. Instead, be bold. Be bold in your statements in your essay. However, the exception might, when you use might as a noun, a person, place, or thing or idea. So Beowulf fought the dragon with all his might. I'm telling you what he did. Or Gilgamesh and Enkidu swung their axes mightily. I'm describing how they did it. So that's the only time you should use might, but you should never use might when you are trying to make a statement. Now, did you know that for formal essays, writing in past tense is literally a big no-no? However, it's literally how we talk. But in essays, you got to write in present tense because you want to convey a strong writer's voice. Now, when you write in present tense or in an active voice, you achieve this. So let's do a quick recap of present tense. So, of course, we know past tense is how we naturally speak and typically write, but present tense is how we should speak and always write. So, you have two types of verbs. Of course, you know you got your regular verbs and then you got your irregular verbs. So, she walked to school each day. He always talked too much. That's normally how we talk, regardless of when those actions happen. But when you're writing in present tense, she walks to school every day. Do you see how it has more of a stronger voice? He always talks too much. So, regular verbs is easy. You just add an S for present or an ED for past, depending on the subject. So, I walk, she walks, we walk, they walk. You know the drill. Or you walk. You know the drill. Irregular verbs is where you get a little real. Those are that to be verb. So they went to the park often. The night was of sovereign value in all eyes. Instead of went, how about they go to the park often? Or the night is of sovereign value in all eyes. Do you see how I have a much stronger voice? So here's an essay example. In the face of adversity, adaptability proved essential as it allowed individuals to quickly adjust to the changing circumstances. How about in the face of adversity, adaptability proves essential as it allows individuals to quickly adjust to the changing circumstances. Do you see how it completely changes the voice and the tone? You sound more sure, you sound more assertive as opposed to talking in the past. Now, here's another tip. Typically, when we young writers, when they are writing about or referencing documents that were written in the past, they talk in the past tense. However, in formal writing, you write and talk about the experiences in a novel written before you were born as if the events are happening now, aka present tense. So that's just a little tip I thought I'd leave to you. Another thing you can do to fix writing in past tense is to develop active voice. So, active voice is when the subject of the sentence actually does the action. For example, Miss Winsley guides the students in writing. See how the subject, am actively doing that action. So it's like saying someone did something. The cat chases the mouse. So the cat is doing the action of the chasing as opposed to the mouse was chased by the cat. Do you see how that's passive? So passive voice is when the subject receives of a sentence receives the action. So it's like saying something was done by someone. So the mouse is chased by the cat. I know the cat chased the mouse. However, but reading it, it makes it look like the mouse is getting chased when actually it's the cat that's doing the chasing. I want my cat to be active. Hence, the cat chases the mouse. So in this sentence, passive voice in the face of adversity, adaptability was proven to be essential as individuals were able to quickly adjust to the changing circumstances. That's passive voice. Nothing wrong with it, but in formal essay writing, you have to write an active voice. And I'll be honest, guys, it is a skill that's hard to master. That's why it's such a common essay. But once you can learn the tricks and nuances of active voice and present writing, you're going to be a beast. So when we look at the active voice for the same sentence, in the face of adversity, individuals rely on adaptability as it enables them to quickly adjust to the changing circumstances. And that's all I got, guys. I know it was long, but hey, you made it through. Now remember, embrace your inner geek, guys, and be okay with who you are. Because remember, there is nobody in the world that is purposed and destined to do the great things that you are. Nobody can do it like you. So put some stank on it, rock out, and I'll see you next time.